Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 2 of, yes, you guessed it, Everybody's Always Right. For those who are the first time joining us in, this is the second episode, so you may have never heard of us. It's pretty simple. I've been around the web for a long time, and I've been around for a long time because, I may not be an old geezer, but I got some age behind me. And I realize that everybody's got an opinion, and everybody talks about their opinion, and everybody's pretty sure they're right about everything. So I figured, why not do a talk show called Everybody's Always Right, and then talk and debate and talk about a lot of things. And as some of you know, I am a marketing and branding expert, and I've been a serial entrepreneur. And so that's also stuff I like to talk about. So I try to have guests that reflect the kind of people I want to be around and the kind of people I think you can learn from, and the type of people I can debate and have a conversation with, and stay polite and still care for each other. So I have a very special guest all the way from Dallas, Texas, ladies and gentlemen, my friend Nicholas Andromidas, ex-VP at Sony Pictures, now a real estate mogul. Well, maybe not a mogul, but a real estate investor, and maybe a mogul. Actually, let's ask him at the end of the day. But I'm sure he's going to have some good advice for us, tell us where the market has been and where it's going. And it's going to be interesting. And we're talking about everything he's done over the years, because he's a Montrealer who had the guts to move to LA and build his life from there. And then, retired as VP of Sony to go to Dallas, move to Dallas and change his life for the better, I hope. So let's please welcome my friend, Mr. Entrepreneur, Mr. Real Estate, Nicholas Andromidas.
Hey, Ghislain, how are you? Thanks for having me on today.
Well, thank you so much for being on, Nick. I'm so glad to see you. First of all, we don't talk enough. We don't get a chance to communicate much because we kind of live a little bit far from each other. I don't know how many kilometers or miles that is, but there's a few
About
between us.
1,500 miles.
Oh, yeah?
1,500 mil. Yeah,
Yeah.
my French is still. It's like, maybe we'll practice my French today.
So it's times almost 2, I think, in kilometers, right?
Right, something like that. 3,000 kilometers.
Yeah. So for those who haven't learned the metric system, which you should, there you go. So Nick, my friend.
But wait, hold on. Before we go on,
Yeah,
I want to make sure everybody knows that we've known each other for 44 years, my friend.
44
years. The summer of 1976.
Is that the year you guys moved next to us? So Nick is this close to being, my blood.
That's right.
We've known each other, like you said, for 12 years. I'm kidding. I just don't want to be that old. So yeah, we've known each other for a long time. He was my neighbor for like my entire life and my best friend. And that guy, I would sneak into his house while everybody was sleeping to watch TV.
Remember that? Your dad taught me. Your father taught me how to ski. Your father was the first one to put me on skis.
That's right. So we go way back, but you left for LA, and so now we see each other when you come and see your family.
Yeah, I left for London, Ontario to do my undergrad.
That's right.
So yeah, I did Sir Winston, John Abbott. I kept heading west, London, Ontario, and then California.
And now you're into Quebec of the U.S.
Is that what Texas is known for?
It's not known for that, but it is that. Texas is a country within a country.
Okay. I forgot about that. You're right. We are the old republic here in Texas.
That's right. And don't tell a Texan he's an American before he's a Texan. He's a Texan first and an American second.
So when I first moved out here, it'll be 2 years in November that I left California to be here. I came out here in November 2018, and a lady made sure I knew the history of Texas. And one of the things that she said was, the two things she says you need to remember and to know is that we have enough guns to line up our border with the rest of the United States. So we're the republic. And the other thing that was interesting was, some places you'll notice, if whoever comes to Texas, look at some companies, they'll have the Texas flag on top of the American flag on the pole, which they're putting the republic. They're putting the republic first before the USA.
Yeah.
It's interesting. It's a great area. You get to meet a lot of people. Different. It's very diverse. Dallas is very diverse. Fort Worth is more Texas, but Dallas is very, very
Well,
diverse.
you guys, plus you guys are close to New Mexico. You got the Navajos. You've got so many things going on. It's insane. I mean, Texas is beautiful. And if you go, I mean, the differences between like all the big cities in Texas, it's like changing states.
Yeah.
You
Oh
know,
yeah.
Houston and Dallas are like completely different cities. The people
Uh,
don't act the same.
Austin is California, basically.
Yeah.
It's completely it's very diverse. Other than the geographic location, it's a very cool place. I've had nothing but good experiences here so far.
So, as I was telling you in a conversation right before the podcast, while we were testing our equipment, that doesn't work very well. So, please, everybody, whether you're on the live or listening to the podcast right now, please know that there will be more technical difficulties. I am still, working on this. It's the second episode, so shit happens, and we like it that way. So, as we were talking before we got into the podcast, I lived in Texas. I lived about an hour and a half, almost an hour and 45 minutes from Dallas. It's got a little dry county city, a little city called Glen Rose, Texas. And my sister used to work there in the safari because one of her best friends, which is who is almost royalty in New York, had started the safari with her funds, and she was, by the way, big and huge in real estate. And so her name was Chris, and she built the safari, which is now in other people's hands, and it's a foundation, right?
Okay.
And so I went there and I worked there and I dated there and I lived there, and I learned so much. And people, like in Quebec, people are very sweet, and if they like you, they'll just grab you and bring you in the house and feed you and talk to you, and you people think you can't argue with a hardcore Texan, but you can. It's actually really fun. It's almost a party to argue with them. As long as you're not disrespectful, you can have a lot of fun.
That's right.
Dry counties weren't that fun to me, but I mean, and I was young, right? I was 20. I was 20, on the verge of 21. So the private establishments where alcohol was allowed, well, I wasn't allowed to go there, so we had to go in back of the high school.
Hey, Ghislain, you couldn't drink, but you could go buy a gun.
That's right. That's right. But you can't shoot when you're drunk. It's the really dangerous thing to do.
And if you are, just make sure you hit the middle one, not the one on the left or the right.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I to all my friends in Miami and Fort Lauderdale, you guys know I love you. I love Miami. I spent a lot of time there, almost years if you accumulate all the months I've passed there. But I trust a Texan with a gun a lot more than a Miami guy with a gun. The relationship with their weapons is not the same as the rest of the U.S.
Yep. Yeah, we can get into it later, but yeah, I've got some good stories when I first came out here and how I got used to having pistols around me at a Christmas party.
Wow.
Go figure. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
I remember going to Dallas the first time, and for the first time, and there was a saloon with guys with guns on, and Dallas is a real city. I mean, there's no, like, it was completely out of place. But I was, oh my God, this guy wearing Wranglers and a gun at his hip. I'm like, what the? Seriously? This is supposed to be in movies.
Right. You won't see that today in Dallas. You'll see that maybe in Fort Worth.
Okay. Well,
west of Dallas. But Dallas has become, like I said, very, very diverse, and it's gone north. Okay. It's more of a metropolitan, and it's changed.
It may have been Fort Worth, because to me, Dallas and Fort Worth is the same city, right? To me.
Today, yes, it's part of what they call the DFW Metroplex, the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex.
Right.
Which goes from Fort Worth.
Then, I mean, it wasn't the same city, but to me, I mean, you'd cross the street, you were in Dallas.
I think more so today. From what I've been told, 10 years ago, it was two separate cities. There was nothing in between. Now, you drive between Dallas and Fort Worth, and you don't leave the city. It's like going from Oshawa to Toronto.
Oh yeah, no, it was like that in the 90s. I can tell
Oh,
you.
was it? Oh, okay.
Yeah. Maybe in their minds it wasn't, but yeah, it was like that in the 90s. I guarantee you.
It's still growing, and it's growing north. You go up to Frisco, that's north of Dallas, Plano, Frisco, McKinney. It's crazy what's going on.
I think it's here too. By the way, Montreal is growing. Toronto is growing also. New York. Well, there's no more room for New York to grow, but yeah.
Montreal was on a list yesterday that I got. I'll send you the article. Someone sent me an article. I forgot what they were based off, but San Francisco was number 1. Montreal was number 2. Houston was number 3. I forgot what it was about. I didn't have a chance to read it. I have to find it.
It must have been about food.
No, it was
because San Francisco is like, I don't know. It
could be.
Oh, I think, or it could be about LGBT.
No, not in Houston.
Oh yeah.
Sorry.
No, it's true.
If it was Austin, maybe, but
yeah, it's true. Because San Francisco is well known for its LGBT community. So is Montreal.
It had to do with, I think it had to do with real estate, because the guy that sent it to me was from the Houston market, and he was making, hey, look, Houston is like the number 1 city on the list. You see the way he changed it up? But no, the number 1 city in Texas on the list. So
right.
I'll find it and I'll send it to you.
It doesn't matter where it is, as long as you can buy it. I mean, right? At the end of the day, it's how many doors you have and where they are and how much they're worth.
We can get into that, but geography, the geopolitical does. I'll never buy in California. I'll never buy in Quebec.
Anywhere in California? Anywhere in California?
Anywhere on the West Coast.
Really?
It takes you a year to kick out your tenant. You ever see anybody sit in a restaurant for a year if not paying their bill? I don't think so.
It's pretty hard here too, by the way.
In Quebec, yes. In Ontario too now.
Yeah.
Less so than Quebec.
In Quebec, you can have the court's approval to ask your tenant to leave and force your tenant to leave, but you can't physically do it. So no police is going to go. You can't. Yeah.
In Texas, they're out in 30 days, and the sheriff shows up at the door.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
It's a very business friendly. And we'll get into it later when it comes to real estate. But yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about you and where you come from and what the hell you're doing in Texas and how'd you get there? Because you do have a crazy story, and I have to say, like right now, and I hope you take this the right way, Nick, seriously, because you know I love you. But you were the timid type. Nobody figured that you're the type of guy that would break down walls, and you ended up being the one that broke the most. So, you know what? My hat off to you, brother.
Thank you. You know, what's that seed? Before we go on, the bamboo stick. You know, it takes years for the nut of the bamboo to break through as it grows, but once it breaks out, it just shoots right up. So think of it like a bamboo stick. Anyways,
thank you for mentioning your nuts.
We can get into that later too if you want, but
no, we're good with that. It's good.
So what my story? Look, local Ville Saint Laurent boy, grew up with immigrant parents, Greek. There's a huge Greek community in Montreal. We know how it works. Everybody works hard. Worked in the restaurants, some hotels in downtown Montreal. And it just came to a point where I just wanted something different. So as you notice, and growing up in that shell of being in that community, I just wanted to break out and see what was out there. And I think the first step I did was going to John Abbott and not going to where everybody else was going in the city, right? And then from there, you met different types of people, hanging out with the West Islanders. I decided to go to the University of Western Ontario, and that's just to break away and meet other people. And just from there, it got easier and easier. So I think the first step was going to John Abbott. A lot of my friends gave me heck, like, why are you going all the way out there? Because it wasn't as popular as it is today. I mean, I'm proud to say that my niece even attended John Abbott and just started McGill 2 weeks ago or a week ago. Went to John Abbott and then headed out to the University of Western Ontario, where I met a ton of good people. And my first real estate investment was in Toronto. My first 3 projects were in Toronto. I met some people through school that I had, went to school with. And then it came to a point where I couldn't find the work that I wanted to do and get the experience. Right? I was working in restaurants, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? But I ended up going to Ottawa and working for a small chemical company that sold chemicals to janitorial companies. And
so I just want to, like you just said, there's nothing wrong with working in restaurants, and I have to say, quite the contrary. Everybody I know that's went through the dishes and serving and the kitchens. I mean, every person I know that worked more than a year in a restaurant is a hard worker. I mean, it forces you to realize just how much grinding you have to do in life.
And to connect with people.
Also, that's right, because you need a minimum of.
I think that's where it brought me out of my shell.
Right, makes sense.
Yeah. So then from Ottawa, I think I went down to Las Vegas for a convention one summer, and I drove out to California, and that was it. I said, you know what, I want to come out here. And now I think that was the summer of '94, and I was in LA February, the exact day I remember to this day, February 5th, 1995. Plane Air Canada landed in LAX, and a friend of mine picked me up, and the rest is history.
Yeah. But you studied in numbers, am I right? Or what was your major?
My major was economics. Numbers is my forte. I love crunching numbers, and so actually, I got a job as an accountant. A temp agency hired me.
Okay.
And so I had to fly
for
back
them.
to Canada. Yeah, for them, I had to come back. I got a 1-year visa.
I remember that. That's
right. Yeah,
I
remember that. I got a 1-year visa, and the guy was from Boston, so there was a hockey connection. He had attended a hockey camp in Montreal, so I think that helped him helping me out. And then I went back to Canada. I got my visa. Came back. He put me to work, and the company that he put me to work for sponsored me and got me my green card.
Wow. So what? You were the accountant for the firm, so that's funny. Well, you did the numbers, not the account, but the numbers or the data. I don't know how you call it. I know in French the term in French, but I don't know what it is in English. But
it was just accounting projects. So the person in the accounting department was behind in something. So I went in there and helped her out. I first went to the Gemological Institute of America, where they grade diamonds in Santa Monica.
Yeah, that's cool.
But they moved to Carlsbad, and I didn't want to go to Carlsbad. It's all golf, right? And at that point, I wasn't a golfer.
Are you now?
I think I am. I like going out there, but I figure I have another 40 years.
Do you like playing with people that suck? Because I'll go play with you.
That's the first thing I tell people. As long as you like playing with someone that sucks, I've got a great personality to hang out with for 4 hours.
That's right. Same thing here. I mean, I can slice like no one else.
No, I'm decent. I'm okay. I can keep up with everybody, and I know if the ball goes right or left. I took some lessons, so I think I got the basics down. But going back to the beginnings, and I just ended up at a movie theater company like a Cineplex Odeon or AMC. It was a small family-run business.
Okay.
And the accounting lady loved the work I did, and then some other guy needed help in his department for marketing, and he hired me to help him clean up with co-op between him and the company and the studios with advertising. There's co-op money, and he hadn't done it in who knows, but I ended up collecting a lot of money for them, and I learned the marketing, and then from there I just moved up in the company until it was time to go, and that's where I jumped ship from there. And I'm still friends with them. They're great. It's a great family. And then I moved on to Sony Pictures for 13 years.
Sorry. Sorry, the mute button was stuck. So yeah, that's exactly what I was gonna say. You stayed with Sony a long time.
Long
I
time.
mean, you went through the highs and the lows a few times there.
Well, I was very fortunate. Went through. I mean, back then when when the economy would hit the lows, it would be the highs for us because I was in the home entertainment division. So
Okay.
people would we didn't have internet. I mean, you had internet, but you didn't have the red boxes back then. I don't know if some people know what red box is. It's where you rent a video at the pharmacy through a kiosk. It's a vending machine, basically.
Oh, right. That we
Remember?
didn't that didn't work very well here. We
No.
had some, but it never worked very well. No.
And then the streaming came in and it changed the business. So I mean, yeah, I lasted for 13 years, and then when I came out, I realized living in LA, I was living in a bubble because right, you go from home to work, right? And you're in an
Right.
enclosed environment, and then when I hit the streets, because I wanted to be in real estate, I started investing in real estate while I was still at Sony, and so I wanted to go full time. That's what I want to do. I didn't want to go work for anyone else. I didn't want to go to another corporate job. And then when I hit the streets in LA, I said, "Holy moly, man! How do some people live like this?" It was you got a dose of reality,
Yeah, you don't know when you're in it,
right?
when you're living it, and
When you
you,
drive by it on the freeway, you don't see.
that's right.
Yeah,
That's right. Um, so obviously LA is like the ultimate in traffic, and you're right. In so many ways, LA and a big part of that, San Diego, etc. I mean, even socially, it's a bubble. Like in every aspect, you go there, you're transformed. You're not the same person anymore. And you're right for the traffic. I mean, I do like a 2 hour drive to the office and a 2 hour drive back. Right.
can you imagine doing that every day?
I did that every day. Yeah.
Oh wow,
I did that for 5 years from Saint Sauveur or Prévost, where I am, right?
yeah.
So 200 something kilometers in traffic. No, sorry, 120 kilometers in traffic every day. I put in 137,000 kilometers on my car the first year. So I know what that's like, but I never, it took me a while before getting a nice luxury car that I could enjoy and just be zen the entire way. So I had shitty cars for a long time. Now I have a good car, so I don't mind anymore doing an hour and a half because as long as I'm not late, I'm happy. I use that time to either listen to my podcasts, like you all should all do, and listen
Very
to
good
my
point.
podcast.
Yeah,
And listen, this podcast is usually an hour and a half and 2 hours, right? So most people do 2 hour traffic, either an hour, or 2 hours, 2 hours. So I would do. So when it was my business, I would do probably an hour and a half to get to Montreal, and then when I started getting contracts where I had to work and do the marketing in house for a year, because usually that's what happens. They hire me for a year or two, a 17-month mandate, right?
mm-hmm.
Sadly for me, they always hire me to save the situation, not to build. But I'm the guy you call when the fire's on. So then I have to be there at certain hours because they don't want the rest of the staff to say you're privileged or whatever, and give the example because they don't know whether you're a consultant or not. For them, you're
Yep.
just another employee. So that's a 2 hour drive at least, and at 5, sometimes 2.5 to get back. So that's when I said, no, listen. Back then I had a like a rusted old truck. I still have it for that matter. It's 390,000 kilometers, so that's got to be 200,000 miles on it.
Good.
Yeah. And I use it to carry the Winnebago. I pin it and I use it for that, or when I need to go to the hardware store. And so now that I have that car, and I'm telling everybody, traffic is really not that bad in life if you have something to do and you keep your mind busy. And if you're not late, because that's what people hate. It's when you're late, even 5 minutes late, it changes the entire perspective of traffic. Anyway, you just remind me of that. So yeah, bubble.
I hate traffic. That's one of the reasons why I left California. It was for that, and it was just I just got tired of the city, and I was flying out here in 2018. I was because I started investing in Texas. I was flying out here once a month, and and that's when I realized, because just like everybody else, you think Texas. I was thinking about leaving California. I was thinking of Nevada and Arizona. I've got some friends that live in Phoenix and Scottsdale.
It's so hot there, though.
It is. It gets hot here, but we've got a little bit of more of a seasonal weather. But I came out here and I just realized, wow, Dallas is such a cool place. I mean, it's got great restaurants, nightlife. Not that I go out there, but it's just a more of a city feel. And I said, you know what? I'm going to Texas. And I decided, I packed it up and sold everything in California and moved out here.
So from a friend's perspective, when I look at you and I look at your eyes, I feel like you're more rested also, as compared to when you were in LA and you would come to Montreal. You look tired and stressed, and it was almost like, hey, I'm in Montreal, but I'm here like for 2 days because I got to go back and I'm in the middle of the rush. And
It's the middle of the rush. It's the rat race. It's just, you're not in control, right? You work for someone else. They control what they want. And now it's just a different lifestyle, right? If I mess up, or if it's just me. And I'd rather do that. I'd rather, go without a paycheck for 2 or 3 months and enjoy life versus, getting that big check every quarter or every 6 months. But so far so good. I mean, it's been 7 years since I left. 7.5 years since I left the corporate world for a W-2 job, or
wow.
what do you guys call it in Canada now? T1? I forgot. When you work for someone.
I guess so. We just say we're self-employed.
Yeah,
but you're talking about the because you're a numbers guy, yeah. So it's a T1, yeah. You're right, T1E or T1.
Yeah.
So real estate in LA. So I have friends that still live in LA. Actually, are born there, and a lot of them are in either actors or in like the Silicon Valley, or in places where the tech places, right? There are a few of them, just not just Silicon Valley. And some of them really have, like, they wanted a house and they had to buy a house so far away. I mean, we're not talking about an hour or two here. We're talking about like the suburbs are like a million miles away. They got like 4 or 5 hours of drive, and because it's too expensive, too many houses. What's the deal with that?
They're not building any more land, right? You can't go any more west because it's right. So I'll give you an example. A brand new home here in Texas, in the suburbs. Dallas has gotten a little bit expensive for the Dallas market. I mean, because they hate Californians and New Yorkers because they're all coming here. You can get a nice house here for $120 to $150 a square foot. Just so we're comparing apples to apples. $120 to $150 a square foot for a nice home, right?
That's good. Here it's about 200, but it's Canadian, but it's 200. Yeah.
When I sold my house in California, and it was an okay area. It was called Lakewood,
okay,
by Long Beach Airport. So it was south of LA. I sold my house for $540 a square foot.
Wow,
that's how crazy it's gone, and it's gone up since I left.
So we're gonna talk about that because buyer's market, seller's market, et cetera, et cetera. For you, it was a great deal because you were not buying in the same area. But anyway, we'll talk about that because I've had a conversation with a few people that are looking to sell their house, and I keep telling them, if you sell your house, but it's a seller's market. Yeah, but every house is up. That means that little house, you think you're gonna have a hard time finding a house with the money you're gonna get for your house. People don't realize that in a seller's market, it seems good for the seller, but if the seller lives in that house, it's not that great.
No, and I don't know if your audience and what your demographic of your audience, but your house is not an asset; it's a liability.
The one you live in.
That's right.
Right.
Because it's not bringing you money into your pocket; it's taking money out of your pocket. So you have to keep working, right?
That's right.
Whereas an asset is paying you. That's why I've been renting, and I don't plan to buy unless I have to. I would rather rent look, I moved into an area for this is my second apartment, my second year, and I'm going to be moving again only because I need a bigger place. Um, all the amenities and all that stuff. It's a lifestyle. It's just much easier. And then I owned my house for 17 years, and when I did the calculation, it wasn't that much of a difference from paying rent. I didn't have a pool. I have a beautiful pool here. I've got a gym, right, community center, and everything
You're
that I
like in
can
a condo
use.
complex?
No, just it's an apartment complex, about 350 units, right
Okay.
by a man-made lake. I don't know if you remember Lake Caroline, in between the two airports,
Yeah.
between DFW and
Yes,
Love
yes,
Field.
yes.
Yeah, so I just live here, and it's great. I mean, I get to walk the lake when it's walkable, like if it's not like 110 degrees with humidity. But no, owning a home is nice. You do it because you want it. You want to raise a family in it.
Yeah.
But
It
other
can
than
be
that,
it can be smart too. It depends on also, like you said, it depends on where you're buying and where you're moving. For instance, I'm in a neighborhood that can only go up. Like there's no chances of it ever going down because it's already undervalued, right?
right,
So if I sell my house here in 10 years, then yes, I will have had like a profitable, well, maybe not my case because I'm a serial entrepreneur and my house is also my cash flow sometimes. So, but anybody else, let's say that has a normal job and pays off their house in a neighborhood like this, if they keep moving in a place where it's undervalued, then yes, there's profit. But if they keep moving into an equal place or better,
or better,
then
yeah,
yeah, exactly. And that's the mistake. I think the mistake is like if I sell this place for profit, it's because I'm going to use part of the profit to either buy another home or two different homes, or I'll expand. It's not to get indebted even more after all these years.
yeah. I'm not saying that it's a bad idea to buy a home. I think it's just a different lifestyle. I think it's different for everyone. I mean, if you're traveling a lot, I mean, why are you paying a mortgage? And
You're right.
you know,
You're right.
I mean, if you're going to raise a family, I think it's important. I would love to be able to raise a family in a home versus an apartment.
Yeah. No. No. I agree. Yeah, because you get your little. Well, even okay. So sorry, that was almost a complete sentence. um, Yes, but like we lived in homes, right? We had pretty decent houses when we were kids. Our parents had a nice house, and we had tenants on top. And then after a while, my parents decided not to have any tenants and opened up the entire house. But we had the same house. We were on a semi-detached, so we were really we could knock on the door on the wall and hear each other. But the
Yep.
point is that and a very big condo or apartment, because I mean we had no land. I
Nope.
mean, what did we have in the back? Maybe what, 400 square feet of grass?
If that, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, again, it depends on like here. I agree. I have like, I don't have I have 40,000 square feet of land, right? And for those who think that's really fun, well, I don't have much trees, so it's a lot of work. But for my kids, it's awesome. They get to work, but to play on the land, they get like I built a module. We have a lake and a pool, and we have plenty of room
Nice.
for the kids, right?
Where'd
So
you put the pool? Sorry for intruding.
what do you mean?
You said I know where the lake is compared to where you're living,
Yeah, the lake is in the back of the house, and the
right?
pool is so the way the house is built, I have a lot of land on the left and a little bit of land in the back,
Got it.
but a lot of land on the left. So everything is on the left. And the way it's built, I have trees that hides it. So the pool is like in front of the house, but on the left, and it's hidden by trees.
Which sits right on the corner, right at that intersection.
That's right. But that
Yeah,
the corner of the intersection is the front of my house.
right.
And then on the left of that, where the old restaurant was, like everybody's wondering what the hell we're talking
Yeah.
about. But so I burned down it for just to give everybody an idea. I burned down in 2004. We've had this house for generations, and then me and my brothers and my sisters, my brother and my sisters bought the house from my grandmother, and then I bought it from my brothers and sisters, and so on. In 2004, I burned down. I completely refilled the land and completely moved everything around. So the house is not where the old house is, and everything's changed completely. So that's what Nicholas is talking about.
It's a
And
beautiful
that's
place.
where, yeah, it is. It is a beautiful place. And a house like mine in Montreal would be about $1 million. And it's maybe it's valued under 300 grand here.
Yeah,
So
but
to give you
I'm sure,
that's for
but
40-minute drive.
I've been gone for what, 25 years from Montreal, 25, 26 years. And I mean, oh my God, how many people live off the island? It's crazy, the growth up in
That's
Saint
right.
Sauveur and is it Mascouche?
Yeah.
I didn't even know
So
what
yeah,
Mascouche was before.
exactly. So there's a city called Mascouche, Terrebonne, Blainville. So a lot of hockey players and millionaires live there now.
Yeah.
The advantage we have where I live is that so we live on top of a mountain, and there's like an entire area that's considered to be a leisure area. And then there's the city, our city, which is called Prevost. Prevost includes the leisure part, but it also includes the city part, which is in full development. So condos and we started with like a small market, and now we're building like a huge IGA and like big markets. And we went from one small gas station, and now we're gonna have 6. So
Awesome.
yeah, all that in maybe 10 years. And there's another 400 luxury homes getting built. So that's the bottom part. But because of Quebec rules and to save the environment, there are new laws that says that leisure areas cannot be built if you don't have at least 100,000 square foot land.
Mm,
So that puts a lot of value on our homes. So these
good.
places, there is never going to be a close neighbor to my house ever.
Okay.
So people are going to start looking for like big houses with big lands. They're going to have to go into leisure places. So it makes our homes, like
It protects them somehow. Yeah, that's
yeah,
good.
exactly. So let's get back to you because you're more interesting than I am. So now you decided, let's say in what 2010 to leave, to go full time in real estate. Sorry,
It's 2013.
13. Okay. Um, did you start investing before you left LA?
I did, yeah. I before I left LA, I had owned 3 properties. One had gone full circle, and then I had 2 condominiums in Toronto. So I started investing in the Toronto condominium market.
Okay, that's interesting. Now, people, you seriously, like, if you're into money, you got to listen to this because Toronto is a very special place right now. The values are skyrocketing. I mean, it's starting to equal New York and other crazy places like that. And so I'm going to talk to you about a strategy, Nick, and I want you to tell me if that strategy rings a bell with you. I have
Okay.
a few friends that want me to invest in that type of thing.
Okay.
By the way, I'll give you the news. I am separating, so this is not a good time for me to be investing in anything.
Okay.
But I like the strategy. The strategy. So what they were saying is that towers are being built, and old neighbors, and they know the value, or they hope, or they estimate the value on sales. And what they do is they put the deposit so that the builder can build the tower, and then before the end of the construction, they sell the condo. So their investment is actually only the deposit of the condo, and that's how they make money. They turn around. So
So
what do you know about that strategy? Like,
so that's how I bought.
okay,
So I bought with off plans. They hadn't even broken ground. The first one I knew the real estate agent. He had gone to University of Western Ontario.
okay,
So I was looking for stuff in California, which I couldn't pencil it out, but I could afford in Toronto. So I bought a condo in Toronto, and then I ended up. Another friend of mine bought in the same building, and his kids went to the same school as the developer. So through him, I got
okay.
to meet the developer, and I bought 2 other property. All the properties were through the same developer. It was just a fluke, a coincidence.
Well, it's usually the same developers that develop in those areas anyway, right?
Yeah, I'm assuming there's a handful of them. But yeah, I bought through him. it's good and it's bad. It depends what your strategy is and what you want. So the bad part is that your money's sitting there for 2 years. So basically when you sign the purchase sale agreement, when you buy the condo, you have to put down 5%, and then you have to put down the other 15%.
Yeah, it's 20 now,
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
yeah. So you put 5% when you sign, and then every 30 days or every 90, I think it's every other 30 days, you have to give them a check for the other 5%, 5%, 5% for a total of
Okay.
20%. So you've put down 20%, and the building hasn't even broken ground. It might take 2 years to
So
build.
what happens if it doesn't? Because that's what I've heard.
You get your money back.
You do?
It sits in escrow. Yeah, it's protected.
Okay.
I
That was
wouldn't
my
worry about
question,
that.
because that would be my fear. My fear would be, okay, what happens if he doesn't sell enough? Because they need, I think it's 30% of sales before they can start breaking ground, right? It depends on the city, but yeah.
Yeah, it
Oh, I'm sorry, Nick. We can't hear you anymore. I don't know why, but it stopped working. I don't know, and it's not my side. Ah, there you go. Nope, you're still not on. I think it disconnected. So it's all right. I'm going to talk while you try to fix that. All right. So as my friend Nick was talking about, there are certain ways to invest in real estate, which I didn't know, right? So I don't really know that strategy, and Nick's probably going to be able to explain it a little bit better. But basically, you're betting on a construction. It's kind of like, no, we still don't have you, Nick. It's kind of like, you estimate the value of the condo at sales, right? And how many, because there's also the growth. No, well, you're still not there, Nick. Sorry. There's also, oh, you're still on mute, by the way. There you go. Can you talk, please? Oh. So let's say you buy the condo for $300,000, right? You have to give 20%. So you give the 20%, and the value of the condo, while for the 2 years, those 2 years while it's getting built, is actually growing, and that's what people are betting on. So that 60,000, um, on a $300,000 condo may actually taken a lot of value, because the condo, when it's done building, may have cost and may be valued at, I don't know, $500,000. Okay, let's bring Nick back. I think we're back with him. Can you talk? No, I'm sorry, Nick. We still can't hear you. Maybe have you tried plugging and unplugging your microphone? Oh, you're still on mute, Nick. Interestingly enough, your microphone is on mute, and it says that it doesn't say anything. Try to unmute. Can you see it? Is it red? Yes. Try to talk, please. So yeah, the value of your condo goes up, and so does your deposit. And if your deposit goes up, the value of deposit goes up. Then when you resell or when you take it back, they put it back on the market, and then you make a lot of profit. I'm sorry, Nick, we still can't hear you for some reason. Maybe you can try putting it on the computer microphone. See what happens. Put the music fiasco union, Zoom boy says. That's funny. Hello, Wagner Gamer. So welcome to the podcast. So my friend Nick here has no sound, I think. At least I can't hear him. I'm pretty sure he has no sound. Let me check if my speakers work. See what? Like I said at the very beginning of this podcast, we were going to have technical issues. I do apologize for that, but I mean, that's the way it is. Sometimes it happens that way. Can you try talking, Nick? I kind of hear something in my ear. No, I'm sorry. So, yeah, technical issues are often there. So sadly, this does happen. And this right now, Nick is having a hard time reconnecting with us because his microphone doesn't seem to want to work anymore. That's one of the reasons, by the way, for anybody who wants to do a podcast, I have to tell you that while we wait for Nick to figure it out, it's better to use consoles, right? So I have an actual dynamic. Yes, my T-shirt. Sorry, let me cut. So Wagner Gamer says I have a COVID-19 T-shirt. Wagner, if you want that T-shirt, all you have to do is go to kingsandbros.com, and I sell these T-shirts. Check it out. So kingsandbros.com, and you're going to find my T-shirts there. So yeah, so one of the issues we have is that sometimes it just doesn't work. And I can't tell you why. It just happens that way. So as we were mentioning, there are several ways of investing in real estate, and Nick Andromidas is made that his full-time job, and we see that a lot on the internet. There's a lot of gurus and stuff like that, and it's fun to talk to somebody that actually does it and knows what he's talking about. And remember that our friend here, Nick, has a master's in economics, so he knows how to count. So I trust him a lot more than I trust most people. So sadly, though, we are not connected with him anymore. That's really too bad. Yeah. So for some reason, your microphone is muted again. So yeah, can't unmute your guest. Their mic isn't connected. That's what it's saying. So yeah, so there are a lot of gurus out there that talk about real estate, and there's like a lot of them very well known, which I'm not going to name, just give you really false information and talk about how easily you can get a deposit, because that's the part that's hard. It's not as easy as it used to be to put in the deposit and go see the bank, because what they preach is that you go to the bank, get a loan, use that loan to make a deposit, and then so it becomes really complicated. And banks don't lend money the way they used to. So that's another issue. And sometimes it's based on value and overvaluation. It's a very dangerous game to do. So that's the way it is. And again, to Wagner Gamer, buddy, if you want this T-shirt, go to kingsandbros.com. The COVID-19 World Tour T-shirt. It was the first one. I was the first one to have the idea to make this T-shirt, and it's silver on black, and it's awesome. So to all of you out there, the sponsor is actually my brand, and it's called kingsandbros.com. We got hoodies and T-shirts and cool stuff, and I'll be putting up new designs very, very soon. I'm launching this podcast, so sometimes I don't have that much time. I do have a life, though I'm hoping the podcast may become a major part of my professional life because I love it. And so, yeah, if you want to encourage me to keep doing my podcast, then I just go to my shop and buy something. I have cups at $10. They're really cool, drinking cups. Where were we when you had left? Sorry about that.
I apologize to you and your audience. I don't know what went wrong.
Hey, listen, it's happened to me so many times that you surely have no reason to apologize. That's what podcasting live is about. One day, when the COVID-19 has passed away, we'll get a chance to bring you into studios, and we won't have that problem because it's not going to be in-house.
Would love to do that.
So where were we? So we were talking about the strategy of buying and selling condos through deposits, right? So can you explain to me so I understand it a little bit better? That what's the strategy behind that? How do they pull it off, and how does it work? I understand that it's. Sorry, I'm going to let you talk in half a second.
No, go ahead.
I just want you to understand that the way I see it, it's a very like I have a generic view, a generic knowledge of it, and so I can't really talk about it, and I don't comprehend it enough to even think about putting the money in. And when my friends talk, they're just too excited to talk about it, to get into the real numbers. It's like they're so excited about it that they're not doing a good salesperson's job. They're pretty much selling their excitement instead of explaining what what they're actually doing. So can you like walk me through the process, please?
Sure. So you can put down the 20% and wait 2 years, and then you can sell it. You would only be able to sell it once they get occupied. I think it's 75%, because, for example, when you put down your 20% and in 2 years you want to be able to get a mortgage, right, for the other 80 to pay the developer off. Well,
Exactly.
if the building is not registered with the city, the mortgage, the bank is going to say, well, where am I giving you the money? It has to be a registered, it has to have in the US we call it an APN, right? Or it's got to have a lot number. It's got to have like a certificate number that says this condo unit is being bought by Ghislain Roy for this amount, and that it's in the records. So you could do it and you could make money, but I think some condos now, they don't want to do it that way. And I could be wrong, but I think in my contract, I would have paid a penalty if I just bought it and sold it. They wanted you to stay in. They wanted you to buy it, and then whether you lived in it or rented it out, it's fine. But I think you have to be careful of each developer is different.
Right. Okay. So
I don't know if I explained it.
No, I understand what you mean. So basically, there are two ways of doing it. You either buy the property and hope over the years it gets valued and you rent it out, or you decide to use the deposit strategy, and in a way, the developer is the one paying you before you start selling the condos.
No. The developer doesn't pay you. So let's say you the condos, easy math. In Toronto now, it's not. Let's say it's $500,000, and you have to put down $100,000, right?
Exactly.
So you put down $100,000, and let's say it sits there for 2 years, and 6 months before it registers, right? But you don't want to move in. You just want to flip it, get your, from 100,000 to maybe now it's worth 600,000. Well, that person needs to put down 20% on that. It's only 120,000 now. You're hoping that it appreciates a lot faster, so that you can get not only your 100, but you want to get at least 120, right? Or if not more, 140. I would want a 20.
Right. So it's a 20% return on your $100,000.
Right. Over
for
2
years. Yeah, that's not that amazing.
No. Because if you look at the IRR, so from doing that strategy and doing it 3 times, I realized, hold on, my money's sitting with them for 2 years, and then I wanted to scale up faster, and that's how I got into what I'm doing now, multifamily apartments. Because
right.
I pull people's money together and we buy apartment buildings, we syndicate. That's how I got into apartments, because I said, how do I scale the business faster? Because remember, I'm not living in Toronto. If someone gave me notice to leave, the apartment might be empty for a week, 2 weeks, maybe even a month. And then I had to pay the realtor a month's worth of rent as commission. There goes a lot of my profit for that year.
Yeah.
Right. So that's how I started saying, hold on, I got to find a better way of doing this. And that's when I started investing in Texas. And I started investing as a passive investor, just so I can learn the business and see how they operate. And then I always wanted to syndicate, but I took the path of invest money, see how they operate, how they raise the money, and then I got in, and that's how I got into it.
So like I have friends that do that also here in Montreal, and so we call that buying doors. They buy doors.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So like I have a friend of mine, a lady friend of mine, who has 400 doors in across Quebec. Right.
Perfect.
Yeah. So, well, it's like she says it's simple, but again, the thing about, I'm just asking questions, right? But
sure.
So my family, we want to buy a block together. All right. We have a couple of properties, and we want to leverage those to buy maybe a 12 apartment building. But again, what we've learned by owning houses is that tenants can complain. There's a lot of fixing. There's a lot of there's a lot of cost towards that. And plus you're a bunch of people in the same, that with the purchasing power to buy one building. So let's say you guys buy a tower building. If you're 10 people or 20 people, I guess it depends on the value of the building. If it's a $10 million building, it'll be more people than it's 100,000 building, right? But
right.
So how do you manage that, and the relationship between the investors, getting it fixed, and how do you manage that? Because that's a lot of people for one property.
Yes. So the first thing, I don't want to be a landlord. I've done it, and I just don't want to be a landlord. I don't want anyone calling me, hey, my toilet's clogged or the window's not broken, right? Okay. Right. So I don't know what the numbers are like in Canada, and I have a few friends in Ontario that have invested in apartment buildings. But the magic number is you need at least 60 units to make it worth your while to buy it, and then put in what we call a third-party property management company, the professionals.
Okay, so 60 units is 60 buildings?
No, 60 apartments, 60 doors.
Okay.
So 60 doors, one building, 60 doors, or buy two buildings next to each other, 30 and 30, as long as the property manager, because you have to pay them. And now the smaller the units, I mean, the smaller the size of the number of units, the more expensive it is, right? Because they still have to make, let's say, $1,000 a week pay, or whatever that salary is in Quebec or in Texas.
Right.
That's why we like to buy 100 plus doors. The last deal we did was 228 doors. We have 4 salaries on the property, 2 maintenance guys and two office staff, the leasing manager and the community manager. And we just make sure that they're hitting our numbers, and we asset manage the fact of, this is how much money needs to come in every month so that we can pay our investors. And we have 80 investors in that last deal. We collected money from 80, and it's equity. It's an equity deal. So we went out and got a loan from Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac. It works differently in Canada. I'm not too familiar with how it works in Canada.
Go ahead. Maybe it's probably not far from the same.
Not far from the same, exactly.
We just need bigger deposits, I think.
Yeah, right now it's down to 30 to 35%. It's hard to get a 80% loan to value, especially now with the market. Now they're asking us to put a 1 year's worth of reserves of property taxes, insurance, and payroll. It's a lot of money. That means I have to raise.
Then you're higher than we are. Then that's higher. Yeah.
Well, just because of the COVID situation, because they don't know where the market's going to go, so they want to protect their loan. So we'll get. Let's say you get.
I don't want to argue. Sorry, I don't want to cut you, but
no,
that's very strange policy for the banks, because it's exactly the opposite that's going to happen. No matter what happens with the COVID, people will be at the end of this are going to be renting a lot more than they're buying. Like, the economy is going down, so people won't be able to afford the homes.
Right, but will people afford to pay their rent?
Well, they can't put them in the street. They have to live somewhere.
Well, I hope so, because they just put yesterday or 2 days ago, the CDC out of Atlanta, which is a federally, you all know, they passed the law. I can't evict anybody now till the end of the year. So if we've been okay so far since March. Our rents have dropped a little bit, and we've worked with people. We don't want to kick anybody out. It doesn't make sense. And we've worked on payment plans. And we hope to God that they're going to catch up and pay up. Everything was going well with the stimulus, but now that that Congress has done shit, excuse my language. I
was talking about that 5 minutes ago. Yeah.
Some people are going to take advantage of it, and at the end of the year, they're going to say, you know what, I'm going to leave. So am I going to spend good money for a lawyer to get that money back? Who knows? We hope that doesn't happen. How many
doors again? Like, the lawyer is worth it depending on the number of doors you have problems with.
I don't think that's going to happen, because I read reports. They said, look, we know we have to help people, and I think they should leave it up to the landlords. And I'm not saying there's landlords out there that are pigs. I'm not going to disagree.
Yeah.
But we want to work with our tenants. We understand what's going on. Hell, man, we even bought pizza for them in April or May. We bought 228 plus. We gave 2 pizzas for the 2 bedrooms. Wow. We figured, let's help them out here. Give them a free dinner, right?
Right.
So we want to work with our tenants. We're hoping that the government does give stimulus because everybody was paying their rent. We were doing okay till August now, and people are not, they don't have money. So, and if we can't pay the bills, then the banks are going to have issues. And then that's a domino effect.
Yeah. So I don't know how the banks are doing in the US, but the banks in Canada are making shitloads, excuse my language, shitloads of money right now. I mean, they've been racking up the money, and I don't know again what's going on in the US, but for instance, I had a couple of months of break on a few payments here and there, but interest keeps going up, right? They're just postponing the payments at the end, but the interest of those months is accumulated, so you're actually paying more for whatever. So the more you postpone, the more you pay.
That's disgusting.
I know.
They should, what they say is, they did that here too. They said, we'll give you 3 months forbearance. But okay, fine. So that means instead of having, 120 months to pay you off, let's say it's a 10-year loan, now it's going to be 123 months, right?
Exactly.
Oh, no. No, it's just like in Canada, right? No, you're going to pay interest for that. Well, where the hell are you helping me out? I mean, I didn't cause this problem.
They're making so much money. For sure. And I have business loans, right? And those business loans right now, my business is just not like there's nothing going on. And they're not helping business. They're helping individuals with that fake help, but businesses still have to pay their bills. So the government is paying I think $60,000 or $40,000 help, financial help for businesses to pay their rent.
I heard. Yeah.
But they're helping financially people. They're saying, like, I think the average is $2,000 a month. No, it's not the average. It's the top. Yeah, top of the scale. They're sending $2,000 a month to people that don't have a job anymore can't work because of the COVID, due to the COVID, which they'll have to prove eventually when they give their T4 and their T1s, their tax returns.
Yep.
So it's a double-edged sword, right? They're helping the businesses a little bit, never enough, because we pay a lot more, and we still have our bills. And like, my businesses owe money to other businesses, and I can't pay those little businesses which deserve to get paid, and it keeps going like that forever. And now that they're opening the market, well, here in Canada, nobody's going to work. Why would they work at $13 an hour when they're getting $2,000 for sitting down on their ass at home?
And that ends end of August, I believe now, right?
This is it. That was it. This was the last month. Yeah, September. Yeah. September is the last month. So if, like, for instance, in my case, I have that's coming in for me, and it permitted me to build this podcast and everything else, because my biggest client, which employed me for a year, because I closed my businesses 2.5 years ago. Okay. And I stayed on only as a marketing consultant. And the problem is, whatever revenue my consultancy brings in, it goes to paying my suppliers and everybody else. So my margin is my salary. And right now, I have no margins. So the little bit of money that's coming in, which if it was a salary, I'd be floating, I'd be happy, but it's not a salary. It's all expenses, because the expenses keep going. You don't really have any help. I don't want the $40,000. It just complicates my life way too much to go get that $40,000. And so one of my 3 businesses wasn't going well. That's why I closed I sold 2 and I closed 1. And that business still had bills to pay, and I don't want to let those people down. So I'm still paying for the past debts of that business that I had with partners. So to smaller companies, not everybody, but to smaller companies, right?
Yep.
Because that's the kind of guy I am. I pay my bills. So it's not because you close your company that you stop paying your bills, right? So that $2,000 for a guy like me, great. If you have a job that pays, I don't know, $60,000 a year, that $2,000 doesn't pay your bills. So that's understandable. But if you're paying, if you give services under, let's say, $16 an hour, then that $2,000 is overvalued. It's more than what you usually, like, students make, because students make more with that money than they would during summer jobs. So Tim Hortons or for you, Dunkin' Donuts is closing. They're saying, okay, we'll only be open the days that, and those are 24-hour day places. We'll only be open the days we have staff, which is almost never, and they're not 24 hours. So like everything's like bottlenecked. So the people that need a lot of money don't have enough to survive, and those that didn't need that much, well, they're playing Nintendo or Fortnite, and they're like, okay, whatever, I'm happy.
I agree. I mean, they did it here too. They gave people $600 a week from federal only. Plus, you would get whatever state gives you, and the state is different. So just with the $600, that's $15 an hour.
Yeah, exactly. And
that's good money in Texas.
Yeah, I think minimum wage in Texas is what, 9?
I think 11 something.
Oh, it's better than it used to be. Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Some places in the U.S., the minimum wage is like ridiculous. You know that, right? Like $5 or $6 an hour.
Yeah, but your cost. But your cost of living is a lot cheaper.
Yeah,
and that's what was killing me, is that everyone, doesn't matter if you live, well, $600 a week in LA is nothing. It doesn't get you anything. So
that's so true. I mean, so I have a friend of mine. He goes, we were talking about business. I'm not going to tell the numbers, but so that's about 3 years ago when my businesses were going really well, and I was trickling down all the businesses to my businesses. I had a print shop, a multimedia company. So as a consultant, my clients would come in, I would trickle them down to whatever business I was a partner in, right? So I wouldn't manage them. I had partners in there. And so I was talking to a friend of mine who was making like a huge salary, but he worked in New York, and he lived in New York. And I go, why aren't you not living in New Jersey? He goes, well, it's, too far from work. I was like, do you realize that the salary you're making right now, if you were like maybe just, I don't know, 60 kilometers away, or in the US, 50 miles away or 30 miles away, which isn't that bad of a drive or commute, you'd be living like a rich man. You'd have a big land, you'd have a big house, but no, you're stuck in a one freaking bedroom apartment, and you can barely like see the end of the month, and you're making a rich man's salary. That's insane.
Yeah,
it's for the same job. I mean, we get hired here by New York firms, right? And when they hear what our salaries are, we're really impressed that a developer starts, like out of school, a programmer starts at $45,000 a year. That's a huge salary here. That's a big salary. Almost nobody starts with that salary.
I think if and again, I'm not 100% knowledgeable of what the tax rates are in Canada and how they do business, but I mean, a couple of years ago, you remember where number 45, that's what I call him, but Trump said about the visas and stuff. I think there's a huge opportunity for Canada if they change their tax basis, and I don't know exactly what it is because it's a lot crazier than here. I mean, everywhere from Vancouver to Newfoundland, you'd have millions of people living in those cities and flying in and out of the States to do business, because Americans are always going to need, smart. I mean, they're smart people, but they're entrepreneurs, and they hire people, and they would hire people. I think Microsoft has offices across Vancouver, Toronto, Montreal. I know Google does.
Google is here. Everybody's here, but there's two things to that theory. First of all, Canadians don't want to have 100 million people here. We're happy with our 37 million people.
Good,
right? Second of all, if we reduce the way we tax, and I'm excluding Quebec, all right? But then we don't get healthcare, then we don't get a lot of things we're getting that in the U.S. you don't get. And sadly enough, in the U.S., that temperament and that firecracker attitude where you blow a fuse a lot quicker than we do, and we're like, hey, life is cool. Well, when you have healthcare paid for you, you can afford to say, hey.
So this is where my 25 years of living in the U.S., and I think it's going to be some healthy conversation now. You just said you're free healthcare. It's not free, Ghislain.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's taxed, right? So we're
heavily.
Of course. Well, Quebec is worse. If you live in the rest of Canada, it's really not that bad. Quebec, we're in a left-wing, very left-wing state or province, right? So we're overtaxed and we're really not well managed. So the funds here, but this is Quebec again, Ontario, Vancouver, they're completely different environments. They still get taxed, but never the same as us. And when oil and gas was really expensive, Calgary, Vancouver, I mean, they paid pretty much nothing because
Okay.
they were making so much overhead profit. The states was making so much money that it was only federal. And by the way, the federal doesn't tax us very much, really not much. It's all
Okay.
provincial. And provinces are the ones that manage the healthcare, right?
Right. Right.
And here in Quebec, the problem is Quebec doesn't want Canada to meddle in their business, and we're sorry, what's the term for that? Not syndicate, the syndicat. How do you say that in English?
Cindy.
Unions,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
everybody here, right? So I did the math once. You like numbers, right? So I did the math, and I think it's something like 55% of all Canadian Quebec workers work for the government. So it's a vicious circle, right? The rest of Canada is not like that. It's really very, very, very Quebec. So I agree with you with Quebec. I agree. There are, like, we spend more money building jobs within our political system than we do helping entrepreneurs make it.
So isn't it funny that? So we looked at the numbers with one guy he actually came. He lived in LA for a year and went back to Quebec. He didn't like LA. And he says the tax rates are the same like in California, like they are in Quebec.
Maybe.
So, and I don't know where Quebec is, but California is broke. So
yeah,
when
no,
the government
is
doesn't
far from broke.
they're far from broke, or they're close to broke.
No, we're not broke.
Okay.
They just mismanage the money they're making.
So why would you want? And this is where you're gonna you're a trader.
No, go ahead.
It's why would you want the government to be in control of your health care when they can't even control anything?
Okay, so I have two answers to that. I would leave them the healthcare because I've seen the U.S. Healthcare, the non-existent healthcare, and I see how much it costs. And I know too many people that don't make enough revenues to survive. They're like they're in really deep shit. And pregnancies are really expensive, and they can't afford the insurance to pay the pregnancies. It gets really complicated. So for that, I would leave that. But there are a lot of other things in Quebec. Again, I'm not going to talk for the rest of Canada, that I would absolutely take out of the hands of the government. But healthcare, it's like the school system. You remember the school systems here?
They used to be good.
Yeah, they used to be the best, among the best in the world. But the government got into it, and it got generalized. And that's the same thing with healthcare. So if government institutions were managed as businesses, individual businesses, they would be well managed. The problem is we often have a centralized ecosystem that manages every other people. And that centralized ecosystem isn't in the field with the other cows. So they don't understand what's going on. So if you told me the school system or the healthcare, so the hospitals and the clinics, if they were really managed by the general manager of that hospital, and he didn't have to manage his hospital or his school the way the central office forced him to, and he could at least have 30% more latitude, not latitude, but what's the term I'm looking for in English? More
leeway.
Thank you. Yeah. 30% more leeway, then we would not be in the shit we are now. But that's not what they did, because we're in a left, very left-oriented government, and we've always have been here. I mean, we have a liberal party, but it's a lefty liberal party. They're not center. Like nobody's really center here, right? They're all a little bit left. Whereas in Canada, you have the right and the left. The rest of Canada, you're politically centered, and you fall a little bit on the right or a little bit on the left. But in Quebec, we're on the left, and then we fall a little bit on the right sometimes.
Got it.
We're on the left, right? So it's managed that way. It's managed with a socialism mindset.
Mindset, yes.
Yeah, exactly. It's not socialism. It's a socialism mindset in a regular, like we're here. I don't remember how you call it, but it's anyway. We live in a different system in the U.S. and it's been really good to us, but like any other business, the more you give, the more they take. And the government did that and kept doing that. And now, like you said, the same way that Canada wants to separate, the same way Texas used to want to separate from the US, Quebec wants to separate from Canada. But my main argument has always been the one you said: you can barely manage a province, and you want us to give you the keys like if it was a country. I mean, that's
Correct.
just never going to happen. Find me a leader that can manage this province and fix the problems, and maybe I'll consider giving him a country. But for now, you have 60 or 55% of the responsibilities of the province. The rest goes to federal, and you cannot even manage that. And you want 100%.
I mean, I'm not a big fan of separation, whether it's Quebec or Texas. It just doesn't make sense. I mean, you're stronger as a country versus on your own, and it's just going to cause more problems. But going back to your medical, look, the media feeds us a lot of bullshit too regarding, people dying on the streets. People die on the streets because they, and this is going to sound really harsh. People die on the streets because they choose to die on the street. No hospital is not going to ever say, where's your insurance? They're gonna take care of you, make sure they live, and then we'll deal with everything else afterwards.
Well, that's not true everywhere.
I haven't heard. I mean, I think it's really, really minimal. The reason I like the U.S. system is that I want to go see a doctor. I see a doctor right away. I don't have to wait 6 months.
So I agree with that. But again, the reason I tell you that is I have people I know that have been through the hardships of a private system in the U.S. Yeah. As we mentioned off air last time, like 90% of I've been doing business 90% of the time in the U.S. or across the world. Very little here, not very little, but less here, more in the last years. So I know a lot of people in the U.S. I've worked, I've lived there, and you're right, depending on where you are, and each state is different, each city is different, but there are places where they do refuse people at the door, depending on the situation, but they do refuse because the person may not look as sick as they are, and they check for the insurance, and it ended up being something a lot more dramatic than what it was, and it was too late. And there are other doctors and other hospitals who go with their vows, which is to help other people, and I agree with you on that. Right? It depends. Like anything else, there are bad ones, there are good ones, but you end up with a bill. I mean, it's not little numbers; they're huge numbers. So I believe in a dual system. Like a lot of people here in Quebec don't. I believe in a dual system. I do believe that there should be a double speed system. So part public, part private. I am willing, if you have the money or the resources or it's urgent, go to a private hospital or then go. And if you can't, there is a public one. And I think would be the most perfect system. The reason why it's not popular here is because of the socialist mindset, which is, why should the rich have better treatment than the poor? And my answer to them is because they have more money and the world turns around money. And if the rich want to help the poor, that's fine. And I'm all with Bill Gates saying they should be they're not paying enough taxes and there are too many, financial loopholes. But the fact is, I'm not rich. I'm comfortable. I've had a really good life. There's nothing missing in my life. And I can preach about success because I know it better than anybody else. But that doesn't mean I'm rich. And there are months when you're an entrepreneur, you can make a lot of money in 1 month and then not make money for 6 or 7 or 8 months. That's the life of an entrepreneur. And you could be paying bills forever and then it comes back. And so sometimes you don't have the money. And I still find a way to get that money because I want my kid to get checked out right away.
Right.
Or there's a pandemic, right? And I don't want my kid to go into in the waiting room with 100 people that are sicker than her.
Right.
And even if I had no money, I'd rather take the $60 because that's it, right? Because the government does pay whatever would be paid to the public hospital is paid, and then
Correct.
the balance is paid by the patient,
Right.
which I think is fair. And it's true that some doctors could abuse the system, but right now we kind of have that system, and it works for me. I think it's a fair system, and I know people that didn't have the money and that gathered the money and found a way. But so that would be the perfect system for me. There's always a human factor. I talk a lot, I'm sorry, but there's always a human factor. It's like religion, it's like governments, it's like Marxism, communists. It's always a human factor is the problem, right? In theory, everything is perfect, but then you put people in there and they fuck it all up because they're opportunistic or whatever. Sorry, and they're in it for the money and they don't care about other people and they're narcissists. And so, but without that human factor, I think a double speed system would be the best one for public healthcare.
I agree. And look, I'm not saying that this system here is perfect. It's not. It's far from it. And I think the two major problems with us is the insurance companies and the pharmaceuticals. Those are the two culprits that make things just really messed up. And that's why, you don't go broke seeing a doctor, you go broke going into a hospital. And that's because they have to play the game with the insurance companies and the pharmaceuticals.
Exactly. And I was talking about when you were offline, I was talking about the COVID-19 situation and how I believe that conspiracists and people that are anti-masks are not being treated fairly because some of them do have very strong arguments. And sadly, there's a lot of bullshit and they get shut down right away. And I disagree with that. Either side should have something to say, and we should take the time to listen to whatever either side says. And where was I going with that? What was it? Yeah.
The insurance policy, the insurance companies, the pharmaceuticals, and then you said COVID. Yeah.
So I do believe. So I don't believe big pharma and governments have created this fake virus, but I do believe that they saw an opportunity. Big pharma, they're not stupid. They see money. They're not going to provoke a problem that would kill millions of people. But if the problem is there, they're not idiots. They will find ways to capitalize on that, and that I believe. That was my saying. So yeah.
I don't know. I mean, this COVID thing, it just doesn't smell right for me. But I do respect. I thank God, knock on wood, myself and my family to be is we're safe. We take precautions. I wanted to go. Yeah, that's all you can do, right?
That's right. You don't take the risk, even if it doesn't exist, right? I'm not going to argue on the fact of whether it's as bad or it's not statistically, etc. What I'm going to say is, if it is, it's like saying you have the choice between maybe hurting somebody or maybe not hurting somebody. I'm always going to choose a maybe not. I mean, whether I agree completely with it or not.
For me, it's it's easy for me. If someone doesn't want to wear a mask, then you're going to stay. I'm not coming close to you. You're going to, unless I don't, and especially if I don't know you, don't, you stay 6 feet, 8 feet apart from me. I mean, if you do want to hang out with me and you want to speak to me, you're going to have to wear a mask. And if you don't want to wear a mask, we're just, you're going to have to do a Zoom call if it has to be, if the person's important to me and I'm important to them.
And that's what I mean by being shut down, etc. I agree with what you're saying. You don't want to wear a mask; it's your own business. But don't stay close to people that do, right? But that's not what's happening, right? So
no, you're right.
In either sides, I'm not taking any sides. I am pro-mask. I believe it's something that exists, but I do take it lightly. I do again believe that there are financial opportunities in a situation like this one, and people will jump on those financial opportunities. I don't believe Bill Gates is trying to do anything bad. I mean, I think he thinks the solution will help. It may or may not be the right solution, but at least he's trying. Okay, that's my point of view. But yeah, I mean, the problem is, like, I was with my kids and we're watching a show, and the way it works here is that you go out, they the musicians go with trucks, and they're outside and they're playing, and they go from one corner of the city to another, so everybody gets the opportunity, and you need to stay far,
Right.
and you stand there in the park and you watch them, and you're like at least 4 or 5 meters away from the other family.
Okay.
And this guy just walks really close to my kids with no mask, nothing. And I go, excuse me, just like 2 meters. It's not that, it's a huge park, 2 meters. He doesn't say anything, and he looks at me with like really bad eyes, and he leaves. And then he comes back really close to my kids again, going,
Oh no.
it's all bullshit. Inform yourself. I'm like, listen, I respect your opinion. I disagree with it. Just please, just respect the 2 meters. That's all I'm asking you, man. You're allowed not to agree, but respect the 2 meters. I respect your opinion. Respect my
Yeah.
the fact that I want you to stay the fuck away.
Yeah.
Excuse me again, but
Yeah.
that's all. That's it. And please, 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 I'm asking all of you out there, please check what you're sharing. Most of it is bullshit. So if you are right, make sure you fucking double check that information, and who's saying it, and where they come from, and what's their background. Are they do they have already, like, is their primary focus is to dismantle the government, or because some are there since like way before the COVID, and they had another cause before the COVID, and they're now on this cause. It's going to be because it makes enough noise. Like Black Lives Matter, like everything else, right?
When you say the government, are you talking about Washington D.C.?
It depends. It could be a state. Well, I'm saying that some people will use an opportunity like this to try to demonstrate that the government is a bad government.
Okay. I thought, because we've had conversations here, it's like, it's a political year, and they're exaggerating with the COVID, and my response is, well, hold on, guys. The Democrats don't have that much power around the world, because there's people getting sick everywhere, right?
That's such a good argument, and I've never used that argument.
This is not about this.
No.
I mean, I hope they're using it. Yeah, they are using it as a political play,
of course,
but
as they should.
Right.
I mean,
yeah, no, yeah.
I am a marketer. I mean,
whatever it takes to get into that position, right?
Right, and
that's another sick thing too, right?
Yeah,
some people
exactly. But the Republicans are not taking it seriously, so they can't say that Trump is using it for sure, right? He's not taking it seriously at all, and the Democrats are. Holy cow, if we get into the politics, man, I'm so sorry for me. I've said that in my last podcast. I said that to Freddie. I don't know if you heard me say it, but you're stuck between like,
it's bad.
Seriously, I mean, Trump has to leave. That's my opinion. But the guy, the Democrats really don't have anybody good, because there's no way that, like, wow.
They're both at fault. I mean, yeah, we got one situation with Trump where, I mean, if he just didn't, he's a disruptor, period. Yeah. I don't think we've seen that. I don't think anybody's have seen it. He's not just a U.S. disruptor. He's a global disruptor.
Absolutely.
Right.
Look
you
at
saw
how
what
he
did.
treated Canada.
Look at the way he treated Canada. Did you see when he went to the United Nations, or when he went to Davos, and he looked at them and he goes, "You're all full of shit with this climate." Like, he doesn't hold back.
No.
There's a part of me that likes that, but I understand that it's not. But he's got the chutzpah, right? Yeah. The cojones.
He's managing a country like if it was a business, and it's not.
Which is not correct, because we're not a business
at all.
It's human, right? We got humans living here.
And my point to Freddie last time, who didn't want to wet his whistle in this subject, but I kind of forced him into it, is that he's a bully. And if you read The Art of the Deal and you look at the way he's managing the country, it's like don't tell me Trump is an idiot. Anybody that looks at me and tells me that Trump is an idiot is wrong. This guy is smart as crazy. But like anybody else who's super smart, it's usually concentrated. Like, your brain is only capable of doing so much information. So if you're really extremely smart in one thing, usually you're an idiot in everything else. And that's what it is. Like in his case, like he doesn't have time to bother with speaking properly because he knows what he's doing and
It,
manipulating, and that's it.
he,
He's a brand master.
right, and he has to. I don't think he believes in alliances because he's done everything himself all his life. Right, he's been a
But he
bully,
doesn't trust anybody.
but you have to have alliances in life. I mean,
Yeah.
wolves don't travel in alone, right? Wolves travel in
Exactly.
packs. You've got to. So yeah, we're going through some really hard times, but
Yeah.
I have hope and I believe in the American people that we are going to. I think this is going to make us a lot. It's going to make us a lot stronger. And I still think we're going to go through a lot more. I don't think we've hit the bottom yet.
So, two things. Everybody that's listening to this podcast is excluded from my comment, but majority of people are stupid. So the big majority of people around the world are stupid.
Can I correct you? Can I intrude there?
Oh yeah, you can say
I used to use the word stupid. I now use the word people are ignorant because I don't think people are like IQ stupid, but they're ignorant. They're not informed.
Okay, so I think they are, but we can like disagree about that.
That's fine. Okay.
There's a chart of intelligence that actually exists, right? And there's a below average and under average. And if you look at the numbers of people that are in the center and below, it's much higher than the people that are center and above. Much, much higher.
Agree.
So that means the vast majority don't have much intellect, right? And we may be part of that majority. The fact that I'm saying this does not exclude me from that, right? And having a high IQ and being intelligent are two different things. Right. And being good at school and being intelligent are two different things. You may be really good at school and a complete moron. And the opposite is true also. So voting systems are based on that. And politics are based on that. And right now, what that does is that it splits the population in two. And that's why Trump is so strong, right? Right now, we're going for one-liners. Look at the internet. If you think it, you can make it. You don't need school. You have YouTube. One-liners are king, and he is the king of one-liners. And the Democrats are slowly getting into that. They're too complicated, right? So why wasn't Obama very respected by the Republicans? Not because he wasn't a nice guy, not because he was black, but because his speeches were long and complicated. I'm not saying
they were great.
Yeah, I thought so too. I love them, but as a political statement, sometimes it's a lot faster just to get to the point, and Trump is really good at that. Now, the problem with Trump is that sometimes he doesn't reflect before making his point, and it's not based on reality. But that's it. So the problem I have in Canada, in Quebec, in France, in the U.S. is that we are slowly separating we're getting further apart from each other. The two groups are going further apart, and in the basis, right? Everybody, we start in the middle. We're all at heart liberals, not liberals in a political sense. Liberals means that you're in the center. You are for compromise. You are for making it work. That is the true definition of a liberal. You're not on the right. You're not on the left. You're in the center, and you try to get the best from the left and the best from the right and make it work. That doesn't really exist in politics, but that's the way liberals are supposed to be positioned, right? That is less and less true because of one-liners on one side or the other. So let's use the U.S. as an example. Republicans will use one-liners, will use finances, will use business, like quick numbers logic to get their point across. And Democrats will will use that to demonstrate that there's no thought process to that knowledge. But the truth is, Republicans are right about a lot of things when it comes to business and when it comes to, and the Democrats are right when it comes to creating more harmony within communities. So they both have good points, but they're not listening to each other because the one-liners, for the Democrats, one-liners are stupid, and for the Republicans, the long and condescending explanations of the Democrats are just, there as filler.
Okay.
Right. So that's the way I see it anyway. So So what happens is it just goes like that and like that and like that. And now the racism thing is getting worse. The sexism thing is getting worse. Like in the 90s, things were getting better and better and better. And now we're going back to splitting.
Why, let me ask you a question. Why do you think that's happening? What has changed since the 90s to where we are today?
Oh, there's one single thing.
What's
Access
that?
to information. The information superhighway opened the door to false information, bad information. Um, there is a guru out there who is a wine expert that talks a lot, and I don't want to say his name again because I keep mentioning his name, and I'm not such a big fan of him, so I'm not going to say it this time.
Does it start with a G?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so I like I tell everybody, I like this guy 60% of the time. So he is the king of the one-liner, right?
Yeah,
That's the way. Like, it doesn't matter if it makes sense. He gives that one-liner and goes. And one day he said, you can find everything on Google. And so my answer to all of you is, yeah, absolutely everything. And for one good answer, you have 10 million bad ones on Google.
yeah, yeah.
That's the problem. It's that if you research something on the internet, there is a lot more bad information or miswritten or misunderstood information for every good answer there is. So that's what's cool and education does, right? It takes it cleans the information for you and gives you the information in a concise way. And then when you get into life, you make your own you make your own optics and
But there's nothing better than sitting down with someone, and that's why I think podcasts have taken off, where you sit down and you have a conversation versus texting and not being challenged online. So it's interesting on how we look. I love technology, and it's how you treat it and how you respect it and how you handle it. Some people handle it well, some people don't.
There's another thing that changed, and it's wow. I'm gonna pin some generations and blame some generations here, but and I know I'm gonna get some heat from that for this, but I don't care. So the boomers, the real boomers, not the okay boomers, like, because you guys think I'm a boomer, but I'm not. I'm Gen X, and we're badass.
That's right.
So I don't fuck with Gen X, man. We know everything. You're browsing on our internet right now. We play Fortnite better than you do, even to this day. So, that being said, they were very financial secured. It was a lot easier. A car was $6,000. People had good salaries. Money was easy in the 60s and 70s, and so and things were cheap, inexpensive, and they were making money. So they were very they based their life on their own pleasure and their own happiness, and they kind of let kids bring themselves up. The values are not the same. Like, I'm generalizing, right?
Okay.
And I'm talking mostly about middle class here. Lower class, higher class may not be the same thing, but middle class has been like that. So I think that plays a role. I think people are a lot more self-centered than they are, and letting your kids, like, they let their kids play Nintendo without thought for hours and hours and hours and hours, and watch South Park for hours and hours. And those kids are now parents, and they're narcissistic
Yep.
and they're self-involved. And so that wheel is kind of turning. And I'm kind of hoping the Gen X kids are going to kind of save the day a little bit when it comes to that, and our kids maybe a little bit, because we're a lot stricter than our parents. Not our parents, but the generation like after our parents.
Yep.
So we'll see what happens from there. Not all of us, by the way. Again, middle class and lower class Gen X, we're tough cookies because we've seen it all, right? So everything unfolded rapidly during our years, and kids are still wearing our clothes, and kids are still dancing to our songs. And I mean, it's still hip hop. That was us. Still baggies. That was us. Nike Airs. That was us. Rap. That was us. I mean, we're still in the 90s. I mean, there's not much evolution, right? Other than technology.
Got it. Yeah. I
Anyway,
agree.
that's it. That's what I want to say. I have a theory about everything.
It's a changing world, and I never thought we would be talking about what we were just talking about. And but hey, it's here, and we have to face it, and just be. I always try to be compassionate. Be
Oh, we're good. I hear you.
Can you hear me?
Oh yeah, very well.
Because it keeps telling me to recharge.
Oh,
We have to be empathetic, and we have to look at the human nature, look at your fellow human being, right?
right.
And I think everybody wants everything now.
Yeah.
I think technology's played a role with that, and I try to be, when I leave, I don't want to be known as, with how many units I have and all that. It's and this might sound cheesy, but that I left the world in a better place.
Yeah,
And
no,
to
I
me,
agree.
and that to me is how I'm going to raise the next generation, the kids, and hopefully leave them with a legacy to do better and to help, and not be money hungry. I mean, money to me, we're stewards of money. We don't own. I don't. The money that's in the bank, I don't own it. It's just a piece.
Definitely
It's
not.
a note.
Less and less
It's a
every
piece of
day.
paper. Right.
Right.
We're stewards of it, and what do you do with it? So.
Yeah, money is a tool, right? Money is a tool, and
Right.
it's not to build happiness because it doesn't give you happiness.
It doesn't love you back.
It doesn't love you back. It's just a necessity. It's become a necessity that we have to live with, and it's the time waster, right? So we need to have a life, and we need to base our life on something, and so we chose money as a society, right?
So now my strategy, as I've gotten wiser, I hope I'm getting wiser.
Well, the beard says you do.
Yeah, the beard says I do. I'm trying to buy time. And what I mean by that is I'm trying to build a business where I'm not in the business, I'm on the business,
right?
Which will give me more time to spend with family, to travel, right? To see the world, hopefully one day, and work from wherever I want to work and do whatever I want to do.
Yeah,
and
I was lucky for that.
You were lucky, and what I'm happy to see is that I didn't realize that till I was in my 40s, like when I turned 40. And I'm seeing kids that are turning 25, 30 doing that. They're faster.
Yeah, they are.
And that's good. That's why I think I have hope for the world that it's going to be a better place with this new generation that's coming up.
Yeah, I think so too. But I think we're in it we have a long patch of fire to go through.
We do.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think we've seen the worst of it. Yeah.
Oh shit, no. Oh no.
Especially with the economy, and it's a world. We're so intertwined. It's going to be bad unless these people sit at the table and figure it out.
Yeah, maybe we'll be lucky and they'll figure out that money is not the center of the universe, and maybe globalization will not be viewed as the higher evil, but as a good thing, and the demolition of borders will come out of that, and we'll live in a more peaceful manner. Who knows? I mean, financially, I understand that people don't want globalization because they like to be powerful, but sadly, most of you are not as powerful as you may think you are, and that's for every country. The U.S. is nowhere near the power it used to have.
No, and remember, as humans, no one likes change.
That's true too.
And they don't like change and fear. They put the fear in people.
Yeah, that's the best way to sell. So sex and fear are the two best way to sell something.
How you control the citizens. Yeah,
of course. But right now, our governments are just as afraid as we are. By the way, which reminds me, did you see my T-shirt?
COVID-19. I'm just going to turn on the light here because it's getting dark. Hopefully that'll help. Yeah. Oh, nice. Yeah, I've seen it on Facebook.
So you got to take things lightly, no matter how bad they get.
Yeah.
Right. And that's, yeah. I just wish people had this mindset of seeing success as happiness. So you were saying that's your goal, right? My goal is that I will be preaching for the next 20 years. I will be preaching what the true definition of success is, and I will dismantle or try to dismantle in my own way these fake illusion of grandeur of all these people on the internet. And that's why I called it Everybody is Always Right. I want to have those conversations. I want to talk to people that are going through the hurdles of life. I'm not going to go and say, this guy's a liar and blah, blah. I'm not going to do that. I don't have to, because I have enough connections and I know enough people that went through the hurdles of life that a conversation with a guy like Nicholas Andromidas, that's right here with me, my buddy Nick, a conversation with you is a better proof of how the real system works, and that's the way you dismantle the illusion of whatever people are preaching right now.
There are no excuses in life. I mean, it's the internet has made it a level playing field for everyone.
Yeah, almost
I believe.
Everyone. Yeah, everyone in societies that can, right?
Yeah, and look, I'm
first world countries.
Yes, and I think hopefully everyone will have access to internet at some point. That will make it even better for them. But I forgot
that's going to be a game changer when Elon Musk wants to do that, right? With his satellites.
With his satellites, yeah. Yeah.
That's going to be a huge game changer.
Look, it's a huge game changer, but it's a little bit scary too. Because now he's going to know what everybody's doing, right?
Yeah.
Who's going to do the check and balance on that?
Yeah, but they already know where everybody is. They already have all that information. I mean, the only company that used to not give that information was BlackBerry, and they ended up bending to the FBI and giving away the information. So, like, they know. You can go high. I've seen people being tracked in places where there are no wires, and they still found them. So, yeah. It won't change anything. It's just yeah. So the kid in the Sahara, maybe he's right now not being found, but then he will be. But us, like first world country people, we've been followed for so long. We may be microchipped and we don't even know it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm exaggerating,
Yeah, I know it's a conspiracy theory. Yeah.
No, the conspiracy theory is that they want to.
Phone. Yeah.
Right. The conspiracy theory is that they want to chip you. I'm saying you may already be and you don't know. That's my point, right? I mean, you've been to the hospital so many times. They put so much shit in your blood. You don't know.
We don't know. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah. Anyway, Nick, thank you so much for coming to my podcast. I hope you're gonna come back, because we're far from
Ghislain, there's more to talk about. Let's talk about in the new and if you need people from the US just to make it different, or any part, I think you've got a great platform. Keep rocking it. You're doing great. I love the first one, and then look, I'm cheerleading you on, because I think you've got a great thing, and I love the title of it. So everybody's got something, everybody's right. So it's a great platform. So carry on, and I look forward to coming back on whenever you invite me back.
Oh, you're gonna be well. I'm gonna be like it's a format that's gonna be in an evolution, right?
For sure.
So eventually, I'll even like fragment the podcast into sections so people can know which section they want to listen to, and that's fine. But I definitely want to build a panel of people, and you will most likely be invited into that panel.
And real quick, one of my things that I'm trying to do is to teach people, or to have people change their mindset, that you don't have to be poor. There's it's a mindset of, and I'm not talking to make millions. I don't need to make millions. Make enough money where you enjoy life, and it's out there. It's possible.
Exactly. And you don't need to be a millionaire. I keep telling that to all the younger generation entrepreneurs. Keep telling them that Ferrari you want, yes, you need money to have it, but you don't need to go to the dealer to buy it. There's some other guy that's selling a Ferrari that you want.
Some guy going broke.
Yeah, or just wants to upgrade, right? I mean, everything you want can get at a lesser value. There is no reason why you need to have $1 million to buy something that's worth $1 million, because somewhere it's for sale for $500,000.
Yeah.
And the only reason you're paying $1 million for it is because you want to tell everybody you paid $1 million for it. I mean, I have a nice house, luxury car. I do whatever I want, and I never, ever, ever pay full price. And that was taught to me by one of my good friends who's a billionaire in Europe, and two of my friends who are worth over $80 million, who both told me we had never bought a new car in our lives. Ever.
Yeah.
We have never bought it. Like, but you have Ferraris, you have Bentleys, you have a Maybach. Wow.
That's all smoke and mirrors.
Yeah, they buy whatever they want, but they never pay full price.
Yeah.
It's non-existing. And one of my billionaire friend who's from France, from Europe, sorry, he said the only time he buys something new is when his wife goes to the store. Because other than that, nothing new comes into my house. I need clothing. So again, thank you very much. And I did want to close on one little thing, Nick. It's the fact that you were mentioning your goal, and my goal with this podcast is exactly the same thing as you. So I want to wish you a good one. Take care of yourself, everybody.
Thank you.
You're an amazing guy, man. I love you. And we have to talk about real estate because I'm going to start looking into that with my family. So I see, there you go. Now it's my camera. Everything's shutting down, so that usually means that it's time for us to go. Thank you everybody for listening. It was an amazing 2 hours, and just remember, success is happiness. That's it. No more, no less. If you're happy, you're successful. Take care, everybody. Don't fake it, just make it.